Welcome back to the battlefield of silent wars, where power isn't taken, it's stolen. In whispers, in glances, in hesitation. The moment they see you pause, the moment they sense a flicker of self-doubt, they sink their teeth into your weakness. That's why you don't just defend your power, you weaponize it. You become the storm that erodes their confidence until they fear even standing beside you. They want you insecure, apologetic, small. Because confident people are dangerous, they don't ask for permission, they don't need approval, and they don't kneel. So your mission is clear. Don't inspire them. Break them. Shatter their belief that they're above you. Crush their illusion of control. Make your presence so powerful that it robs them of their voice. That's how you rise, not by being liked, but by being feared, respected, and unshakable. They will try to measure you with their shallow eyes. They will test your silence, mock your calm, and interpret your lack of reaction as weakness. Let them, because you are not here to explain yourself. You are here to dominate. You are here to infect their mind with doubt, the same doubt they once tried to plant in you. You are not a mirror reflecting their opinions. You are a blade, sharpening every time they underestimate you. Their confidence is a fragile glass. Your power is a hammer hidden behind your smile. Use it. In every room you walk into, study them. Observe their pride, their arrogance, their delusions. And say nothing. Because the most powerful move is not to speak, it is to become the standard they can never reach. Your presence should haunt them. Your silence should echo louder than their noise. They fear what they cannot predict, and you must become unpredictable. Withdraw when they expect attack, attack when they feel safe. That is the Machiavellian way. Don't let them think they have a place in your mind. Take away their sense of security. Make them question why you stopped responding, why you suddenly disappeared, why you no longer look their way. Turn your attention into a weapon, your absence into a storm. They must feel your silence as a punishment, not a retreat. That's when they begin to break. Not loudly, but silently, slowly, until their confidence fractures and they beg to feel seen by you again. You don't need validation. You are not a beggar of attention. You are a king of focus. Direct your focus like a sniper, only where it serves you. While they scream for recognition, you build your empire in the shadows. And when you emerge not with apologies, not with noise, but with undeniable results, they won't know whether to bow or run. That's the real win. When they don't know how to handle your strength, because they were never prepared for it. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. Let them. That's what happens when you stop shrinking yourself to fit their expectations. That's what happens when you stop flinching at their insults and start ignoring their existence. When you no longer react, you win. Because the truth is, control doesn't require noise. It requires presence. Unshakable. Stoic, ruthless presence. You must break their rhythm. Shatter the script they expect you to follow. They want you to defend, explain, justify. Don't. Silence is your sword. Let them talk themselves into weakness. Let them expose their insecurity while trying to damage yours. That's where power flips. They thought you were soft, now they realize softness was a mask. And underneath was someone they should have feared from the beginning. They relied on your kindness as their shield. They stood taller only because you knelt. Now, as you rise, they panic. Because the version of you that no longer bends, no longer forgives, no longer answers, is their worst nightmare. They fed off your silence when it came from fear. But now, your silence is calculated. It is a strategy. It is punishment. And they feel it. Every second, you were once their audience. They performed, exaggerated, manipulated, and you clapped. But now the theater is empty, and they are performing for a ghost. That's what shatters confidence, not rage, not confrontation, but indifference. When you no longer respond, they are forced to face themselves, and most people can't stand the mirror, especially when you're no longer in it. You must master the art of staying distant while appearing close. Smile, nod, observe, but never give them your mind. Because once they have your emotions, they can control your reactions. And once they control your reactions, they own you. So remain unreadable. Be the calm in the chaos, not because you lack feeling, but because you have evolved beyond their reach. Your value does not decrease because they don't see it. A lion does not become a sheep because the jungle closes its eyes. You do not need their applause. You need to move in silence and make them feel your presence through outcomes, through wins, through the fear they feel when they realize you don't need them. That fear is what shatters their confidence. They thought you were dependent. But now you're a storm without direction, powerful, free, and destructive only when provoked. Confidence, for them, is a performance. But for you, it must be a habit. Not loud, not arrogant, but quiet, consistent certainty. The type that doesn't flinch when insulted, doesn't chase when abandoned, and doesn't beg when rejected. You rise. You always rise. Because power isn't proven in comfort, it's revealed in how you respond to betrayal, loss, and silence. They will try to provoke you. That is their final weapon to make you emotional, reactive, impulsive. That's when you must smile. Because when you stay calm in chaos, you rob them of their final illusion of control. And once that's gone, they fall apart. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly. As their confidence dissolves in the presence of someone who no longer needs to fight to win, every time you stay composed, they lose another brick in their fragile wall of self-worth. Because their power was never real, it existed only in your reaction. You were the mirror that made them feel tall, and now that you've stepped away, they're exposed, small, uneasy, desperate for the version of you that used to care. But that version no longer exists. You burned it to the ground the day you decided your peace was more valuable than their opinion. They will try to circle back, masked as apology or curiosity. Don't let them in. They don't miss you, they miss controlling you. They don't regret what they did, they regret losing access to you. Understand that power isn't just what you do, it's what you no longer tolerate. What you walk away from without explanation. What you ignore even when it screams for your attention. Every powerful figure in history knew this truth. If you want to shatter your enemies, don't fight them. Become untouchable. Become so disciplined, so unpredictable, so emotionally bulletproof that their strategies dissolve before they even begin. They expect you to react. You plan. They expect anger. You smile. They expect weakness. You vanish. You are not playing their game. You are building your own battlefield. And only you know the rules. Your calmness is your cruelty. Your silence is your strategy. Your growth is their defeat. Because they were never ready for a version of you that doesn't ask, doesn't explain, and doesn't flinch. You're no longer the prey, you are the storm that erases every illusion they ever held about who you were. And that realization doesn't just hurt them, it dismantles them. So keep building in silence. Keep refining your power behind closed doors. Let them laugh now, let them feel victorious. You will not interrupt them. You will not correct them. Because one day, they will look up and realize, you're not only ahead, you're unreachable. And in that moment, when their confidence collapses under the weight of your distance and success, they will remember the one they underestimated. They once thought you needed their praise to survive, that your worth depended on their words. But now, you've become dangerous. Not because you seek revenge, but because you no longer seek anything from them at all, and that terrifies them. Because true power isn't loud. It doesn't chase. It simply removes itself, and in doing so, leaves a silence too heavy for their ego to carry. The more you grow, the more they shrink. Not because you are cruel, but because their confidence was built on your submission. And when you stop submitting, they collapse. You didn't destroy them, they destroyed themselves trying to break someone who was evolving. They wanted to be the sun in your sky, but now they are shadows beneath your feet. That's the Machiavellian reversal. To make them powerless by becoming everything they feared you could be. And what did they fear most? Your independence, your clarity, your ability to walk away and never look back. That's the power they could never understand, the strength of letting go without rage, the authority in disappearing without noise. You have mastered the highest form of warfare, psychological distance. They expect battles. You give silence. They expect drama. You give peace. And in that peace, their mind becomes a battlefield of its own making. Do not soften. Do not explain. Do not return. When you rise, rise like fire. Unpredictable, untouchable, unforgettable. You do not exist to heal the ego of those who tried to break yours. Your mission is not to make them comfortable with your growth. It is to become so evolved that even their memory cannot define you. Let them live with the echo of your absence. Let them sit in the silence you left behind. Because that silence will grow louder every time they fail. And every time they remember you, they will feel that silence like a mirror, reflecting back not what you became, but who they never had the strength to become themselves. They shattered your heart. You shattered their illusion. You became power in its purest form. Now they watch you from a distance, not with pride, not with love, but with regret and confusion. Because the version of you they tried to control has vanished, replaced by someone they never imagined you'd become. You were once predictable, emotionally available, easy to read. Now, you're unreadable. And nothing terrifies the weak more than a person they can no longer manipulate. They wanted to shape your story with their opinions. They thought their absence would destroy you. But instead, it became your fuel. You used the silence they left to build strength. And now, you walk through the world, not just unshaken, but evolved. That evolution is your revenge. And it's far more effective than anything you could ever say. You see, they were betting on your pain. They were hoping for your collapse. But you did the one thing they never expected. You healed. Quietly, privately, ruthlessly. And that healing made you powerful beyond recognition. The one who once begged is now the one who chooses. The one who once waited is now the one who walks away first. That's the ultimate flip of the script, and it breaks them. You must understand this deeply. Power is not found in controlling others. It's found in mastering yourself. They may still play childish games, but you've outgrown the playground. You no longer prove your worth. You live it. You no longer seek validation. You embody it. Your presence, your energy, your silence, all of it speaks louder than their noise ever could. They'll try to copy your moves, mimic your confidence, speak your words, but it won't work. Because what you have now isn't performance. It's transformation. You became something real while they remained artificial. And when fake confidence stands next to real strength, the difference is obvious. No mask survives next to authenticity. So move forward, unbothered. Don't look back, not even to show them what they lost. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to build, to dominate, to inspire those silently watching, those who've also been broken, but haven't yet found their power. Be the one who proves that silence is louder than shouting, that focus is deadlier than rage, and that the best revenge is becoming untouchable. You don't need closure. You don't need their apology. You don't need the final word. Because the moment you stop seeking any of it, you won. True dominance isn't in the argument. It's in the silence that follows when you walk away without a backward glance. That silence wraps around them like a fog they can't escape. It's not revenge, it's realization. And realization is the cruelest punishment of all. They begin to see it now. Your power was never in how loud you could be. It was in how still you could remain while they unraveled. They wanted you emotional, reactive, out of control. But instead, you became calm, methodical, and untouchable. And there's nothing more humiliating to a manipulator than watching their target become their consequence. You are no longer reachable by insults, guilt, or fear. You have stepped beyond that battlefield. You now operate in a different war, the war of presence. And in that war, you've already won. Because while they were busy trying to destroy your self-worth, you were quietly building something they can never access again. Your unshakable sense of self. You now understand what Machiavelli meant when he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Because love without respect becomes exploitation." And you've turned your pain into strategy, your scars into weapons, your silence into a throne. That throne is not built on revenge, it's built on rebirth. So let them talk, let them pretend, let them rewrite the story in their favor. You no longer care, and that's the final dagger. The power they held is gone, and they can feel it every time your name is spoken, every time your success is mentioned, every time your face crosses their memory. Their confidence is no longer shaken, it's shattered. And you've become everything they said you never would be. Unbreakable, untouchable, unforgettable. They don't say your name out loud anymore, not because they've forgotten you, but because it still stings. You became a reminder of their failure, of the person they couldn't control, of the one who walked away and never looked back. They scroll through your success in silence, pretending it means nothing, while every piece of your progress slices through the fantasy they once built, the one where you needed them. And deep down, they know. If they had been smarter, they would have feared you when you were quiet, respected you when you were kind, protected you when you were loyal. But they didn't when Biban. They mistook mercy for weakness. They thought softness meant surrender. But the truth is, the kindest hearts turn into the coldest minds once they're betrayed enough times. And now, your kindness has teeth. You no longer fight for space in their world. You've built your own. And it's colder, yes, but it's honest. It's cleaner. And most of all, it's yours. No one taints your mind here. No one twists your words, dims your light, or plays God with your emotions. In this space you've built, there are no masks, only mirrors. And when you look into those mirrors now, you don't see the broken version they left behind. You see power, clarity, the result of every scar turned into armor. They can't follow you here, not because you blocked them, but because they were never meant to enter the world of someone who finally knows their worth. They still play games with illusions, but you've stepped into truth. And the truth is this: once you've tasted peace after pain, silence after chaos, and power after betrayal, you never go back. Now when they knock, you don't answer. Not out of spite, but out of evolution. The doors they used to walk through have been sealed. And on the other side stands someone they can no longer access, predict, or hurt. Because this new world, it may be colder, but it's finally safe. And it belongs only to you. And in this colder world you've built, there's no more begging to be understood. No more explaining your soul to people who were committed to misunderstanding it. You speak less now, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've realized not everyone deserves to hear your voice. Some people only deserve the silence that followed after they lost you. And that silence? It's sacred now. It's where you regain control. They underestimated how powerful you'd become when you had nothing left to prove, when you no longer needed the applause, the attention, or the approval. Now you move like a ghost with a purpose seen but never touched, felt but never reached. You became a mystery they can't decode, a storm they can't prepare for, because while they stayed stuck in their games, you mastered detachment. You learned how to let go without mourning, how to disappear without explanation, and how to grow without permission. There is something terrifying about a person who no longer reacts, who sees everything, hears everything, remembers everything, and still chooses silence. That's who you are now. Not heartless, just selective. Not cold, just unshakable. Not bitter, just done. And they feel it. Every time your name is mentioned, every time your image flashes across their mind, it stings. Not because you hurt them, but because they know they can't hurt you anymore. You've transcended the battlefield. You're not just stronger, you're untouchable. And once a person becomes untouchable, they no longer walk into rooms hoping to be respected. They enter, and the room changes. And now, you don't walk to impress, you walk to command. You don't speak to convince, you speak to end the conversation. You don't exist to be liked, you exist to be remembered. You've shifted from needing their attention to making them feel your absence like a curse. That's what happens when you stop asking to be chosen and start choosing yourself. They stare from a distance, trying to figure out how someone they once dismissed became so far out of reach. They replay the old versions of you in their mind, desperate to believe you're still that same person. But you're not. That person died quietly the moment you realized they were feeding off your pain. And in its place, something colder, stronger, and more calculated was born. Now you love differently. Not recklessly, not blindly. You observe, you wait, you test. Because power has taught you patience. You know that the ones who come with charm can also come with knives. And so you guard your peace like it's a kingdom, because it is. And not everyone deserves to enter anymore. You no longer chase clarity from others, you became your own truth. And now, you don't fear losing people, you fear losing your alignment. That shift makes you invincible. Because a person who doesn't fear loss can never be controlled. They feel it, John. Every time they scroll past you, every time they hear your name whispered in rooms they no longer enter, they feel it. That sting, that silence, that shame. Because they didn't just lose you. They lost the war they started. And the most brutal part? You never had to raise your voice. You never had to expose them. You never had to prove anything. You just leveled up, and that was enough. Your growth screamed louder than any words ever could. Your evolution became the evidence. While they stayed trapped in cycles, you became the one thing they'll never be able to silence. Undeniable. You've become a quiet storm. Not the kind that announces itself, but the kind that changes everything it touches. You enter, and energy shifts. You speak, and the room listens. You leave, and the silence stays behind like a wound that won't heal. That's not arrogance, that's earned gravity. People feel you now in places you no longer go. Your absence is heavier than your presence used to be. And that's what shatters them the most. Because once, they thought they were the center of your world. Now, they're not even a thought in your day. And while they still talk about you, obsess over what you're doing, who you've become, you move forward without a glance. Not to prove them wrong, but because you finally understood. They were never worth pausing for in the first place. The revenge they never saw coming was your peace. The punishment they never expected was your distance. And the power they can never touch again is you. You didn't just survive them, you made them irrelevant.